Hey guys, welcome to the Powerful Man Show, where we help married businessmen save their marriages without having to talk about it, get unstuck, and gain clarity in their lives. As I like to say, life is too short for average. I'm your host, Doug Holt, with my co host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Now let's get this started. Hey guys, welcome back to yet another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I'm here with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. And his blue blockers and all.
Yeah. Do you know what? I've been getting real headache after recording these past few weeks. So I thought I'd try wearing these and see if it makes a difference. The ring lights, they're so bright. I asked you about this, didn't maybe it's just mine. Maybe I've got crappy ones. Maybe I need better ones and go with Doug the Master Holt.
You can adjust the settings. You know that,
I've
right?
done that. Yeah. Okay. I've done that. Coincidentally, I've tried. Don't judge my effectiveness based on my difficulty with getting onto the podcast a couple of podcasts ago. I have tried that, and that did not work. I think we should call you Dougie the Wisdom Keeper Holt.
Got many nicknames, my friend. Did I ever tell you what the guys at the Alpha Reset named me for the nickname? I've gotten, I think, 3 nicknames so far within the Powerful Man.
Nice. What was it?
I'm going to spell it wrong, but it's Rafiki from The Lion King.
Rafiki.
I think that's right. How you say it.
Is that that evil uncle?
No. So Rafiki is the mandrill. He's a shaman in The Lion King, but he also, because I didn't know the story, and the guys named me Rafiki, and I didn't realize how big of a compliment it was. And they explained it to me. So he's the king's most trusted advisor. And his advice is always heeded. However, the way he goes about it is he walks around with a stick, and he kind of makes fun of the king. And he hits the king over the head with a big stick sometimes.
Wow.
And the guys were basically saying to the podcast we just recorded previously is they would say I'd go in a roundabout way and then slap him beside the head. Next thing they knew, because I was just so honest with them, right? And I am they were basically saying, I'm going to take it as they were saying, I'm the shaman, I'm the voice for the king. They didn't call me the king, but that's all good.
Yeah, it must have felt good. I mean, it's always nice to be acknowledged for the effort that we put in with the guys at times, right? Because the Alpha Reset, especially, as you know, it's a very intense 4 days, and we stay very connected to every guy's journey. It's why we limit the guys to 10 men per event. So to have them call you Rafiki, I think is very fitting, and it's awesome. So well done. It's incredible.
Yeah, man, it feels good, especially the guys that we work with they're on fire. The guys that show up to an Alpha Reset, as you know. I mean, you just had an Alpha Reset in the Lake District, and which just seems absolutely amazing. And you see these guys go through this transformational experience. They go out of the 5 agonies, which we'll talk about here in a second, and then they really get to just a land of freedom, what we call the Powerful Man. We talked about One Destination, Two Paths on the other podcasts before. And when you get these guys they're really flying high, I was very grateful. So the guys listening to this that gave me that name, thank you guys so much. It meant a lot to me. I did have to go Google to make sure what you told me about it was true. And it was funny. A woman that we work with, Tim, Darcy, laughed, and she's like, "Yep, that's fitting. He's kind of the jokester who walks around but drops wisdom as he's kind of making fun of people, joking with them." And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. I wouldn't want to know what kind of nickname I get. I'm saying I've never been given one, but I'm sure I have. And they won't.
I've heard it, but anyway, we'll stay away from that.
Yeah, let's stay away from it. Let's hope Amelia doesn't find out what it is.
Yeah. Well, speaking of let's talk about the topic today. The topic today is the 5 agonies. But before we get into that, Tim, how was the birthday party?
The birthday party was a little bit subdued. He's getting old. I'm so glad that we take that time with him. He means a lot. It means a lot to me, but even more so to Amelia, as you can imagine. And yeah, it's sad. But at the same time, it's great too. Bittersweet.
Good. Well, again, let's jump into what are the 5 agonies. So I'll set this up, Tim, and I'll let you knock it down. So, guys, we have something at the Powerful Man that we've identified over the years, working with literally tens of thousands of business owners. And something we've noticed for all men, business owners or not, but especially for business owners, they enter something that we call the 5 agonies. And guys, what I want you to do is Tim describes these 5 agonies. I want you to think about which of these, if any, apply to you. Tim?
Yeah. So the way that these 5 agonies came about is through Doug and I been lost in them ourselves. These 5 agonies are what the men experience when they're wandering through no man's land. If you imagine no man's land, it's a very dark, dreary place. It's incredibly lonely, and it's a tough place to be as well, because no man wants to admit that he's in no man's land. And in no man's land, there are 5 agonies, as Doug was saying, and the first agony is greed. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean to say you're a greedy guy. But what it does mean is no matter how much you have, it's never enough. Whether it's how much money you have, how much happiness that surrounds you, it's a constant story of it's never enough and I should do better. I should have more. And it keeps you trapped on the hamster wheel of hustle, forever chasing, forever running, forever buying the next car, the next home, the next holiday, the next watch, all waiting for that moment where the penny drops that you finally arrive, because people finally give you the validation and significance that you've been striving for all along, but you've been striving for it through external needs. Now, as a business owner, you're used to solving problems. So when you walk home through the door in an evening and your wife turns away from you instead of turning towards you, it frustrates you because, hang on a minute, look at where we live. Look at the life I've provided. How can you not be adoring me and worship me as I walk in through this door? You do not understand how hard I work for us. You don't get the stress and the pressure that I have to deal with in order to provide in this way. And they're all symptoms of the first agony of greed. And then when it starts to frustrate you because you can't seem to solve the problem, typically that's when it comes out in a sharp word to the wife, or you shout at your kids for acting their age. And you're in the second agony of anger at that point. You're feeling angry. You're feeling restless. You're feeling irritable. Maybe it's you snap at your staff, whatever it may be, which then leads to the third agony of shame, because you promised yourself you wouldn't do it again. You promised yourself that this time it was going to be different. You told your wife that you would be home earlier. You promised your kids that you're going to be there for them for that sports day, but you arrive late, you stay at work, all because you're fueled by the first agony of greed, which again, it's a virtuous cycle, and the shame stacks. And all that happens is you enter in a cycle of shame, sabotage, and sedation. You feel ashamed, so then what you do is you sabotage, you push people away, and then you sedate, whether it's food, alcohol, drugs, work, drink, whatever it may be. You then sedate yourself, which then leads to the fourth agony of loneliness, because you feel isolated at this point. You're pushing people away that you love, you don't want to, but it's just happening consciously or unconsciously. You're pushing them away, and you start to tell yourself the story that maybe it's just better if you're not around. So you arrive home later, you avoid doing things with the kids, you begin to feel like a stranger in your own home. Maybe it's the holiday season and you're watching Thanksgiving or whatever it may be unfold in front of you, and you're getting ignored and left out of conversations. Maybe it's your wife who's talking to her parents over the phone, and again, you've been left out of the conversation. You begin to feel increasingly isolated and increasingly lonely, which then leads to the fifth agony of uncertainty. How long can this continue? You're waiting for the moment where it all falls apart, because you know that it can't continue like this. You know that your business can't continue to operate in this way. You know you're not going to retain the A players that you've worked so hard to get if you continue snapping at them and if you continue driving them so hard. You know your wife is going to stick around forever and just tolerate and put up with this. So you become very uncertain. Which domino will fall first? Will it be me? Because the anxiety and the depression, the frustration, the sleepless nights, the medication, the ill health, the stress, will it be me that falls first? Will it be my health, like I was saying? Will it be my relationships, my business? Maybe you start to repeat old financial patterns just again to sabotage yourself and prove subconsciously to yourself that you're not worthy of all this and you don't deserve it. And at that point, the uncertainty is where a lot of men reach out to us. However, I wish they'd reached out to us so much sooner, so they could avoid having to go through all 5 agonies and just realize when they're in the first one. Realize when no matter how much they strive and it's just never enough. Recognize the symptoms, how they constantly move the goalposts. Okay, well, when I get to this point, that's when. As soon as you get to it, the goalposts move and it moves and it moves and it moves. Operating from a have do be mentality. Okay, you know, when I have the house, that's when I'll arrive home on time and then I'll be a great father. So I've just got to get the house. I've got to get the house. I've got to get the house. It can easily be avoided.
Yeah, I mean, guys, when you listen to what Tim says, where are you in these 5 agonies? I know every time I hear it, Tim, I always search back for myself. I look at myself currently to see where, if anywhere, I'm experiencing one of the 5 agonies. And you could be slipping in and out of them at any time. But also you can see where you've been in the past. And I know for me, I've been in all 5 agonies in the past. When my marriage was at its lowest point, you know, I was really in them, right? I really felt like the holidays. I didn't feel like I was like a stranger in my own home to some degree, right? A stranger to my wife, a stranger to my friends and to my extended family and my in-laws and things of that nature. So you really can feel it that way going through there. And, you know, it plays an important role. These 5 agonies of no man's land leave you in a place where it feels hopeless, right? That's a very common thing we hear from men. And maybe you guys listening to this can relate, is guys start wondering if they want to find a permanent solution for a temporary problem. Meaning guys start looking at like, well, maybe they'd just be better off without me. They don't need me. Why am I even here? And they start contemplating suicide, taking their own life. At that point, you might as well try something else, anything else, and just try something different. Look, I get it. It's not your fault, right? The 5 agonies are how people sell you things. They sell you the brand new car, the lake house that you can't quite afford, but you're going to get hope that you're going to get out of that agony, right? You're going to get out of that pain because as soon as you buy that new car, you're going to feel better about yourself. You're not just going to get the new, you know, Ford pickup truck or, you know, Lariat. You're going to get the Platinum, right? You're going to get all the bells and whistles, and that's going to make you feel good. And it does, right? It does for the first couple weeks or months. But after that, it's just another truck, right? It's just another vehicle that gets you to the grocery store, you know, gets you around town, nothing more, nothing less, right? Just another vehicle. Then you have to go start searching to fill the other agonies: porn, alcohol, drugs, gambling, Netflix, watching your favorite sports team over and over again while you're just sitting there drinking a beer, wishing things would get better as they continue to get worse. And this is why the agonies are such a problem. But there are antidotes to these agonies. Tim, let's give the guys 3 ways that they can break free of these agonies. Why don't you give us one?
Yeah, I think the first thing is you've got to understand which agony you're in. I mean, these agonies, they're as predictable as going from A to E in the alphabet. You cycle through them from greed to anger to shame to loneliness to uncertainty. You just do. So where are you in the process? I think you get to be clear with yourself about where you are in the process.
And I'll say, guys, like the agonies, like anything in life, there's foundations. There's certain things that are just very fundamental. And what I always see when I find a guy that we work with that's in one of the 5 agonies, the first thing I know with pretty good assurance is they're not doing their morning routines, their alpha rise and shine specifically. Now you can add things to the alpha rise and shine, but you need to go through it. If you're not sure what the alpha rise and shine, alpha is an acronym. You can go through old podcasts. We've talked about it, but they're not getting through the alpha rise and shine or their decompression. A lot of people talk about morning routines. You can hear those are a dime a dozen. We have a very specific one that we take the men through, but we also have an evening routine or a decompression routine because we deal with business leaders. And guys, you know as well as I do that just because you walk out of the office doesn't mean that business stops. Doesn't mean the problems with payroll, with HR, with all the other things that are going on, whether you're doing M&A or anything else, they don't stop at 5 p.m., right? When everybody else is used to clocking out. So you need to have a decompression routine before you go home. Now, this is the same for you guys that work at home. I work at home, right? We still get to have a decompression routine before we go back into the home, before we go back to our wife, before we go back to our kids or our friends. Otherwise, we take the stress, the anxiety, and the energy from doing business back into the relationship, and that further integrates us or further ingrains us into the 5 agonies.
Yeah, and look, the fastest way to cycle through these 5 agonies and get rid of them, not only get rid of them, get to the root of where they've come from and rip that root out and get rid of them. In my opinion, the fastest way that I have come across is the alpha reset. And I don't say it to plug the alpha reset. Going to the last podcast, I'm just being honest. It just is. It's a fast. Now, look, there might be something else out there that does it faster. I don't know. But what I know from my experience is it's the fastest thing I've seen get to the root for men. And, it's also what they tell us too. And seeing the results that the men experience on the other side of this when they walk in through the door, when they arrive home, and seeing the integration that happens in the weeks after the alpha reset. It's not some kind of pump me up event where they just come and there's a bit of hoo-ha and then they leave and the higher the event wears off after a couple of weeks, then they're back to ground zero. That's not what this is about. There's an integration that happens over the following few weeks that sees people go from their wives literally not wanting them to be in the house to their wives asking them when they're next going to go on a date. There's literally messages that are coming through in the chat right now from the one that was on last week. And it happens time and time again. Guys go from having no relationship with the kids to having the relationship they always wanted with the kids. And obviously that has an effect with the wife as well, because it's very attractive to a woman when she sees the father being the father that she knows he can be. And in business, we have guys that stop selling themselves out for the money and actually start doing things that are meaningful and making money in a way, be it within the current business or otherwise, that actually is in alignment with how they want to operate in the world. And being able to break free from the patterns and the habits of just buying things and living somewhere just so it looks good, just based on what other people will think. They leave all that stuff behind, and it's freeing, quite frankly. And again, that's the words that those guys use. It's not my words. They often tell us how freeing it is to be able to leave no man's land, essentially, and the 5 agonies behind. Because the 5 agonies are heavy as well. It's kind of hopeless. So if you are open to it and you can get to an alpha reset, then I'd strongly encourage you to consider it. Whether you go or not is another thing, but strongly consider it if you want the fastest path to get to the root of this and remove it.
Love it, guys. Guys, there are 3 options for you to get out of these agonies. They're called agonies for a reason, right? Agonies for a reason. And 2 of these things don't cost any money. You don't have to do anything. You just got to do the work. You got to be able to get out of the agonies. And something that's interesting. So for some of you guys, you've been watching the news, you've heard about the chat GPM. A lot of people are talking about it's this open AI source that's out there on the internet. A lot of very brilliant people have opened it up. And I've worked with AI previously. So I even playing around with this, guys, I asked the AI machine, like, how do you define a powerful man? And I'm going to read it for you because I think it's applicable, Tim. Part of what the AI came back with to me in the response was, in general, a powerful man is someone who has the ability to shape events and outcomes either through their own action or by directing the actions of others. Now, we're not asking you to direct the actions of others, but a powerful man has the ability to shape events and outcomes, right? Through their own actions. So what I am asking you to do is take action. Take action so you can shape the events and outcomes in your life. Get out of the 5 agonies, get out of no man's land, and do what you need to do, boys, to get the results that you want. Guys, we'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show. All right, guys, that's a wrap for this episode. But as I always say, in the moment of insight, take massive action. You see, there are 2 types of men that listen to a podcast like this. Those that go on from one podcast or show to another, just hoping things are going to change and realizing that they're going to be in the same place month after month, year after year. You see, I was this guy, so I completely get it. You may just not be ready. But there's also a second man that listens to a show just like this. And this is a guy who takes massive action so they can shorten the learning curve, compress time, and get results to be the wolf. See, wolf is an acronym for wise, open, loving, and fierce. Now, ask yourself, which one am I? And just be honest with yourself there. And there's no judgment on my end, but if you're ready to move from deactivated deer mode, which is defend, excuse, explain, react, to activated wolf, wise, open, loving, and fierce, then go over to thepowerfulman.com/grow and go there now. In fact, I'll make it super easy for you. I will even put the link right in the description here so you can just click it and go over there now to learn more. Guys, in the moment of insight, take massive action. Go from deactivated to activated because like I said, life is too short for average. And I'll see you on the next episode.